Hello, welcome to this week's How's the Market, Pensacola. Well, buyer frustration. Buyer frustration is what we're dealing with now. And I'm starting to see a little shift in the marketplace, ever so slightly. But I follow a lot around the country, not just in our area, to make sure that I keep up with the trends. And one of the things I'm starting to see, even though there's a little bit of a rental shortage, just like there is a buying shortage, is buyers giving up. It's that they have tried and tried and tried and tried and tried. Conversations I'm actually having with my buyers right now is understanding we're probably not going to get the first, second, third, fourth, or fifth house we like, even if we really like it, unless we offer crazy numbers, which I don't like asking my people to do. If it's too far out there above the comps, I understand you have some appreciation, but if it's too far out there, then you are seriously overbuying for a property. And I don't like asking my folks to do that. So I talk to folks, and I will give you an example of what happened to me just yesterday. I've had a buyer look, and he's all cash. The couple's all cash. And there was a property came up at $354,000. And he asked me what the comps look like. I said, honestly, I think the comps, if you factor in appreciation, probably puts you somewhere in the 370s. He said, Shane, we kind of like this one. We've lost out in the last 5. Let's write something at 395. Cash as is. Okay, we're going to do our inspections, but it's just for our knowledge so we know what's going to happen. Do you know that we lost? We lost. The winning buyer, from what I understand, I did not have the seller, but from what I understand, the winning buyer went over 4. And so I can see why the frustration exists on a buyer's side. I can see why the frustration exists on a buyer's agent side, because it's the same thing. They really do want you not homeless. I was, the wife of that couple right there yesterday, she said, Shane, you're going to make me homeless if I can't find a place. I said, trust me, that is something that's keeping me up at night. For my buyers, I don't want anybody homeless. They've sold their property in Panama City. Now they're trying to move here. Now, in all essence, they do have a place to go. They just don't want to store their stuff. They would rather just have one move instead of 2 lateral moves. But that buyer frustration is happening all over our area and all over the country. So much so to where people are going to, they're starting to say, I'm starting to hear from a lot of people around the country, that people are just saying, you know what, let's wait a year. Maybe things will cool down. I don't think they will. I think that we may slow a little. So if I use the term cool down, I guess I could say they would. But the people that think, well, by this time next year prices will drop, no, I don't think they'll drop. I just think that we might have a little less overage. So I guess if you consider that dropping, maybe we could consider that dropping. But I don't know. Right now there is just buyer despair almost. And it is fueling this market right now. Not just the low interest rates, but it is fueling this market because there's not much inventory. I am seeing a little bit of inventory creep up in some of our areas. I'm going to show that to you here in just a second in our 2 counties. But man, I'm feeling bad for the buyers. If you're a seller right now, you may want to take advantage of this, because as the buyer despair kind of goes away, that means demand's going to go down. Demand is what's been pushing these prices. So if demand does start to diminish, you're going to wind up seeing appreciation slow, which means you might miss this opportunity as a seller to get rid of some properties and take some capital. Kind of like AMC stock or something. I don't know how many people are watching that. That stuff is crazy. GameStop and AMC has just been nuts. Fundamentals have gone out the window, and it's nothing but a meme stock, and it's a war, and I'm watching it almost laughing. Anyways, let's talk about inventory in these 2 counties and not AMC stock. Let's go. All right, if you've never seen the show, you don't know that I always start with this slide right here. It says if we have between 6 and 7 months worth of inventory, we have a neutral market. Greater than 7 months considered a buyer's market, less than 6 considered a seller's. What the slide doesn't say. Greater than 9 considered a hyper buyer's, less than 3 is considered a hyper seller's. We jump over to Escambia County. And just like last week, 550,000 up is out of the hyper sellers and into just the sellers with this 650 to 700,000 pocket that's dipped down into the hyper sellers again. So go back and look about 4 or 5 weeks. None of this was orange. All of it was red. So we are starting to see some, and it seems to be creeping ever so slowly down in price points. We've got a long way to go to get this next one though. The 500 to 550 price point, we would have to double the inventory just to come out of the hyper sellers and into a seller's market. We would have to 4x in order to get into a neutral or a buyer's market. Up here, this is the things that still worry me, $100,000 to $150,000. We have added some because it's 1.1. This has been under a month for a long time. So watch your headlines. I've said this over and over and over again. If we went from 20 properties active to 45, which is where we're at right now, we got 45 active. Some headlines will say inventory levels double, crash coming. Well, just because the premise is true doesn't mean the conclusion is true. So the premise is, yeah, we have doubled our inventory there, but the conclusion of the crash coming doesn't seem supported by that at all. Looks like 150,000 to 350,000, all under a month's inventory. All under a month's inventory. And then 350,000 to the 550,000 under 2 months inventory, between 1 and 1.5 months. It's nuts right now. It's nuts. These are things that are active, and I know some coming soons that we're looking at, but we do not have inventory in Escambia County like we need to in order to stop the demand slowdown because of the I almost want to use the word depression, buyer depression, but as buyer, I don't know, they're just frustration, I guess is the right word. Santa Rosa County, we're back to everything over 600,000 out of the hyper sellers and into the sellers. So again, we're starting to see these numbers creep down some. These have not always all been this way. Go back and look when I started this show. I started this show in April of 2019. You would have saw buyers markets, hyper buyers markets, neutral markets, sellers. It was a normal market mix. So it's not always been that way. It seems like I've been talking the same thing for coming up on a year now. But it's not always been that way. And it's not always going to be that way. Especially if these demand levels start to come down some. So sellers, pay attention to me. If you go back, I know I've only been doing this show since April 2019, but there's a podcast I did 14, 15, 16. It's called 5 Minutes in Real Estate. You can listen to me when I was telling buyers, pay attention right now because these times that we're in are going to change. So in 14, I was telling buyers, make a move. Right now, as we sit here in June of 2021, I'm telling sellers, if you're going to make a move, call me. Let's talk. Because there are moves made right now. I've seen some off-market stuff come on market and get ridiculous prices. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean that there are times that things do not hit the MLS. And there are investors that don't like working with the MLS. But I've also seen when it does, there's just a huge increase in the price. So if you got somebody talking to you about selling it off and you want to even consider the opportunities on the market, give me a call. I understand both of them. If it solves a purpose, great. I'll just tell you to move with that because I'm not about the commission check. I'm about helping folks get what they want. Hence why I'm doing this show. I don't get paid for this show. I don't have YouTube ads. I do this show to document the market so I can help people make good decisions. That's all. Sorry, soapbox. Let me get back on here. Looks like everything up to 350,000 in Santa Rosa County is under a month's inventory. We do have 1.1 months inventory between 50 and 100,000 with 3 active properties. Those properties need a lot of work. All right. Then after we go there, it goes up to 2 months and then down here to 600 and above is 3 months. So that's the market this week. It seems, like I said, we're starting to see a little more orange. And it's kind of interesting to graph these out. And you can kind of see, okay, if you were trading stocks and you've seen the graph start to turn slightly, this would be the time to make the move. Okay, because the market could be swinging. Do I think it's going to swing like this? And we're going to have that 2008 jump now that the eviction moratorium and the foreclosure moratorium is over? Do I think we're going to have this swing all the way over? No, I don't. Do I think it's going to come more back towards the middle? Yes. Do I think sellers right now, as we talk right now, and I'm recording this, you can probably get more money for your property today than possibly next year? Yeah, just because of the overage that people are paying. Next year, it may be actual back to what it's truly worth, and people are not willing to pay overage because that demand is starting to get frustrated. So, didn't want to make it a somber episode, but it's kind of, that frustration is alive and well, especially in the buyer's market. It just is. So there's your numbers for the week. Do me a favor, hit like or subscribe if you hadn't done so. I really would appreciate that. Thanks for watching. Have a great week.
I'm a man on a mission.
My mission is to help people break through all the noise out there and
Don't need no permission.
I want to help you get to actual truth. Don't you just want the truth?